Welcome to the Life Skills channel. Today, I'll be your host, Leo, and my special guest co-host, Tyler. In this video, we'll be talking about debt and budgeting. But before we start to talk about debt, we need to know what debt is. Tyler?
Debt is something, typically money, that is owed or due. It's an obligation to repay. So we constantly see on the news and hear about how people are drowning in debt, especially in student loan debts, and there's several different kinds of debts. Today we're going to talk about the three most common within the United States, and those three are student loan debt, auto loan debt, and credit card debt. So let's dive in with the student loan debt topic. That seems to be the most talked about and popular recently. People are talking about loan forgiveness and what we should do to solve this crazy concept that we can't seem to figure out how we got into the situation. So student loan debt in 2020 is now about $1.56 trillion. Average student loan debt for members of the class of 2018 is $29,200. A 2% increase from the prior year. So these people are coming right out of college, getting these low-paying jobs. A lot of them can't even find employment because they've taken courses that aren't applicable in today's society. With this this is an average of $29,200. Some people have $100,000 or more. So the interesting thing about student loan debt is it's the only debt that cannot be extinguished through bankruptcy. So how can you avoid these pitfalls with huge student loan debts? Well, you could apply yourself a little more aggressively in high school to the point where you could get a scholarship that would help reduce those student loans that you would have to take on. You could also go to a community college or a junior college and then increase your GPA, your qualifications to get into a higher university through scholarships as well. You could go to a technical college, an in-state school that would be a lot cheaper alternative instead of just taking on these aggressive loans. They're going to get you extremely high loan levels. So another thing you could do, you could join the military. That's always an option. You can join the military. They'll pay for your education. They'll pay you while you work in the military. A lot of people don't even think about that option, but that's also a great opportunity. Great leadership skills. You get trained on a position, and you could use it in the civilian sector as well. So we got scholarships, military. You could go out into the employment force and work as a tradesman under someone, gain skills so you're contributing to society, you're gaining skills, and you're earning a little bit of money. So those are three good resources that you could do to minimize those school loans. The next topic we're going to talk about is auto loan debt. This is taken from Investopedia. Auto loans now make up nearly 10% of all household debt, the third largest debt category behind mortgages and student loans. In the fourth quarter of 2019, TransUnion estimated that the average auto borrower had a balance of around $18,500. That's probably low compared to most people. And we're talking about people taking on loans. This is another article, nerdwallet.com. 6 and 7 year auto loans. This has never been done before. People aren't concerned about how much they're spending in interest, the total amount. They want to be able to afford it monthly. And what that does, talks about the 5 reasons to say no to this long loan trend. You're underwater immediately. It sets you up for a negative equity cycle. And what they mean by that is if you don't put hardly any money down, we all know that a new car is overpriced. They say typically you lose about 10% the first year you own a new car. So you're setting yourself up for negative equity, especially if you're not putting anything down, just signing and then you sign up for a 7-year loan, then you're paying more interest over those 7 years than you would if you did like a 3 or 4 year loan, like we did pretty commonly 10 years ago. 2 to 4 year loans were common 10 years ago. They say the interest rates jump over 60 months, so you're paying more in interest. And then you're also not taking into consideration the repairs that you have to pay over that term. The repairs, the fuel you got to put into it, all that good stuff. The third type of debt we're going to talk about is the credit card balance per person. The average credit card balance per person in the United States was $6,194 in 2019, an increase of 3% over 2018. Now, a trend I see amongst all these debts is an increase. We have an increase in taking it on. I think it's important to understand what you're getting yourself into when you sign up for this and figure out what you can do to get out of debt and stay out of debt and make wise decisions in the future. So
would that be to make a budget?
Yeah, I think a good idea would be, you have to know where you are before you can correct the situation. So I just go into Microsoft Word. Everybody pretty much has that. They have a note maker on their smartphones. I just go in. This is a good example. Based on $26 per hour. Here's your salary, $26 an hour times 40 hours a week times 52 weeks in a year. Gave me $54,080 for the salary divided by 12. Gives you $4,506 a month, all right? Then I itemize down. Taxes are one of your biggest expenses. I typically estimate around 20%, and that's a good estimation for your federal, Medicare, Social Security, and any state taxes you may pay. Depending on your income bracket, it may be higher or lower, but 20% is a good estimation for this task here. Go down, itemize your rent or your mortgage, food, gas, and leisure, and your transportation. I put in $300 a month. That is obviously lower than the national average. They say the national average for a new car is around $451. So you may have to make some adjustments if you want to correct the situation that you're in, make your life better, less stressful. So gets me down to the net number, $18,064. Savings divided by 12. It's an average of around $1,500 a month. Now, obviously, you can put that in the bank and save it, or if you're in a bad situation, you can take that $1,500 and allocate it toward that credit card debt, the auto loan, the student loan debt, and start extinguishing those, getting yourself out of the hole that you dug, and fixing the situation. Everybody's talking about student loan forgiveness and all this. But the truth is, when you sign up for something, you're obligated to it, right? You made a decision. You wanted that at some point. Now you have to pay the piper, right? The next thing I want to talk about is, why is there an increase in student loan, auto loan, and credit card debt? Why are we in this never-ending vicious cycle? It seems like everybody wants something today, but they don't want to pay for it, right? So there's a few things that I like to do to avoid this. One is the budget, right? We just talked about that. Make the budget, know where you stand, know what you have to do, and follow it. Another thing I like to do is I like to take out a weekly allowance in cash. So I'll go to the ATM, say it's $250 or whatever, and that's the spending money for the week. That helps me manage my money better because I'm not putting everything on a credit card. I'm not losing track of it. I do use credit cards for some of the bigger purchase items where I can get the points, like the Amazon rewards cards. All that's great as long as you're paying it off monthly and not losing track of it. It's built into your budget. I like to pay cash for most everything that I do. It helps me keep track of it along with that budget. And I also think we've just lost lost touch with value. I'll give you an example. This is a half ounce gold coin from 1906. This is, in 1906, this was $10. $10, right? This thing is worth about $700 today. This is a 1964 actual silver quarter, Washington quarter. Let's see what the melt value is on this thing. But 1964, this thing has a melt value, which means the silver content within this coin today is worth $3.22. And it was worth 25 cents back then. So $3.22, it was worth 25 cents. $10 is worth $700 today. Now tell me why. Well, I mean, why would that be? Why is there such a huge disconnect in value?
I think because it was so easy to like print the like cash money that actual gold and silver became a little less easy to produce. So then there was less of it and more paper money.
Right. So, well, let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about the history of our currency and our money. The country effectively abandoned the gold standard in 1933 and completely severed the link between the dollar and gold in 1971. So, our money used to be gold and silver. It used to be backed by this, right? So there wasn't just worthless bits of paper like we have now. So the government the Federal Reserve has printed all this paper money. So the more of something you have, obviously the less valuable it's going to be. And when we sever the tie between something that has value, it becomes worthless. So that's the reason we used to have a $10 coin, and now it's worth $700. Because the paper that we're measuring it in has lost so much value. And I think we've lost touch with value in everything. You see auto loans, auto prices are unbelievably expensive. Housing prices are unbelievably expensive, unaffordable. We buy things on credit cards, via Amazon, in person, buy a lot of stuff that we don't need because we have no emotional attachment to it. All you're doing is swiping a card, right? If you had to go and you had to pay in this coin that you worked hard for, or you had to actually physically present cash, which is another reason why I like to pull out cash, because there's more of an emotional response to it. When you hand somebody cash versus handing somebody a piece of plastic, it makes you think twice about it. Everything is electronic, so we've become emotionally disattached to everything. That goes back to the student loans as well. They've become so easy to get, but we need to be cognizant of what we're doing, with our time and our money. Credit card debt, it just compounds. That's another thing you need to look at with these credit cards is your APR. And I'm not going to dive into all the technicalities, but the basic thing that you need to know is the APR, the higher the number, obviously the more you're going to pay in interest, the longer it's going to take you to pay off, especially if you're making these minimum payments. It's going to take a long time. Even if you have a new card or do a balance transfer, 0%, if you don't pay it off within that allotted time, now you're accruing interest on that at a higher rate. Just be careful. Think about what you're doing. Know that it's your responsibility at the end of the day. And take responsibility. Make the best decisions you can. Hopefully the tips I've shared have helped. Make your budget. Take out a cash allowance. Utilize that. And don't obligate yourself to things that are going to hurt you in the long run. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching Life Skills Channel. We'll see you soon.